Since you're watching this video right now, you still feel comfortable and safe. The Chinese military is counting down to 2027. That's 12 months from today. 3 weeks ago, the German Marshall Fund released something most people ignored, a Taiwan invasion scenario. 12 war simulations were conducted. What happened? The same result every time. In this simulation, 100,000 Chinese soldiers died, while 50,000 Taiwanese soldiers went missing. 50,000 civilians. Within 48 hours, poof, gone. In reality, Taiwan produces 92% of the world's advanced semiconductors. Every chip in your phone, your car, your refrigerator. If China attacks Taiwan, global shipping through the Taiwan Strait will stop. That's 50% of container traffic, instantly offline. You have 72 hours before your grocery store looks like a war zone. This isn't a conspiracy theory. U.S. military intelligence says China will be ready by 2027. The World Economic Forum has ranked geoeconomic conflict as the #1 global risk for 2026. The countdown has been made public. The timeline has been confirmed. The only question is whether you and your family will be ready. Let me tell you about the first 72 hours of a Taiwan invasion scenario today. Not war footage, not geopolitics, the part where your city runs out of gas and everyone realizes that the emergency fund is digital numbers they can't access. This is the first crisis of 2027, and most people will realize it too late.
It all starts with a notification. You scroll, maybe you're watching YouTube, and all the news apps on your phone light up at the same time. Breaking news: Chinese People's Liberation Army forces launch operation against Taiwan. The first missile strikes occur at 4 a.m. Taipei time. U.S. bases in Japan and Guam are hit simultaneously. The markets haven't opened yet, but futures trading has already begun to collapse. You don't have much time for the herd to understand what this means, maybe 6 hours. Most people are still trying to make sense of what's happening. Social media is in chaos. Experts are debating. Politicians are making statements. We stand with Taiwan. Diplomatic solutions. We are monitoring the situation. It's all meaningless. But smart people, they're not watching the news. They're either withdrawing cash or filling up their gas tanks. They're going to the market before panic buying starts, because they can understand what's going to happen next. At the 6th hour, the markets open, and it's a complete bloodbath. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, TSMC, has halted all production. Its stock has fallen 70% in 30 minutes before trading is suspended. Every company dependent on Taiwanese chips has begun to collapse. Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, and AMD have all dropped 2,000 points, then 3,000. Circuit breakers kick in, trading stops. Your 401k has lost 30% of its value, and it's only the first day. At the 12th hour, gas stations are starting to run out of fuel, not because there's a shortage yet, because everyone wants to stock up at once. Panic buying has already begun in supermarkets, water, canned goods, batteries. Remember the situation we saw during COVID, but this time the supply chain is unlikely to return to normal in 2 weeks.
The second day is when people begin to understand the scale of the situation. Shipping companies announce they are diverting all container ships from the Taiwan Strait. This adds another 2 weeks to every shipment from Asia. Every company with a just-in-time inventory system begins calculating how long their stock will last. Car manufacturers, we have parts for 6 weeks of production. Electronics retailers, current stock will run out later. Medical device companies, most of our components come from Taiwan. The president goes on television. We are working with allies to ensure supply chain stability. Translation, we have no idea how we're going to fix this. On the third day, supermarkets are completely emptied. Not empty, but all the easy calories are gone. Pasta, rice, canned soup, peanut butter. There are long lines at gas stations. Some are limiting purchases, 2 gallons per customer. And people are starting to understand. This isn't a 2-week disruption. This is the new normal. 72 hours. That's the time it takes from breaking news to too late to prepare without dealing with crowds. The question is, what would you be doing right now in such a scenario? Let me show you how this triggers a chain reaction. Taiwan doesn't just make chips. They make chips that nobody else can. 5-nanometer process, 3-nanometer process. This makes TSMC the only company on the planet that can produce the most advanced semiconductors on a large scale. When TSMC goes offline, is there a backup supplier for the world? Unfortunately, no. The first week is just panic. The second week, companies start announcing delays. New iPhone launch, indefinitely postponed. New car models, production halted. The medical equipment your hospital uses, orders pending with no delivery date. Modern cars contain hundreds of semiconductors, engine control units, infotainment systems, safety features, electric vehicle batteries. When chip supply stops, car production stops too. Ford announced temporary closures at 12 of its plants. GM followed suit, Volkswagen, Tesla. In corporate jargon, temporary means we don't know when we can restart. Dealers use up their current stock in 3 weeks. Then there are no new cars left. Used car prices increase by 40%, then 60%. And what if your car breaks down? Good luck finding parts.
And here, things get even darker. Be careful not to make a mistake. Medical devices need chips. MRI machines, CT scanners, ventilators, insulin pumps, ACE makers. Hospitals have spare stocks, but when equipment breaks down, replacements don't arrive. Rural hospitals are affected first. They can't afford to stock expensive equipment. City hospitals start to cut back. Elective surgeries are canceled, then semi-emergency surgeries. If you need surgery, the waiting list goes from 2 weeks to 6 months. What's strange? The US has the capacity to manufacture chips. Intel, Global Foundries, Texas Instruments. But technologically, they're 3 to 5 years behind TSMC, and increasing production takes at least 12 to 18 months. There's no quick fix. By the second month, cracks were beginning to appear in the financial system. The S&P 500 was 40% below pre-invasion levels. Trillions of dollars in wealth evaporated. Pension funds went bankrupt. Retirement accounts were ruined. Some banks suffered huge losses on their investments in technology stocks. Rumors began to spread about which banks were sound and which weren't. Remember 2023? Silicon Valley Bank collapsed in 48 hours due to a bank run. Now imagine that happening to multiple banks and everyone already panicking about their supply chains. The FDIC steps in. Your deposits are insured up to $250,000. Great, but if 5 people want to withdraw money at the same time, the bank doesn't have cash. It holds on to 10%. The rest is loans and investments. Fractional reserve banking works great until it stops working. 3 months later, people have adapted. Not because things got better, because they accepted the new reality. Gasoline is $12 a gallon, if you can find it, of course. There's food in the markets, but the options are limited and prices have increased by 60%. Electronics? Forget it. No new phones, no new laptops, no new game consoles. The repair economy is booming. People are repairing 10-year-old devices because they don't have replacements. Barter is becoming widespread, not because the currency is collapsing, because some goods are worth more than money. And the war? It's still going on. The German Marshall Fund scenario predicts a conflict lasting months. The Chinese People's Liberation Army eventually withdraws from mainland Taiwan but holds on to offshore islands. Tens of thousands dead, hundreds of billions of dollars in damage. And your government's priority isn't replenishing your market stocks, but managing the economic consequences.
Now let's talk about the things politicians don't want you to think about. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve exists to buffer oil supply shocks. It covers roughly 90 days of import substitution. Sounds good, right? But the government already used up 40% of that in 2022 to manage gasoline prices. And 90 days assumes normal consumption. In times of crisis, when everyone is panic buying, that period stretches to 60 days. After that, gasoline prices are at a level the market can handle. $12 a gallon? $15? $20? The government can't save you because the government doesn't have solutions. They only have talking points and emergency powers. Here's the supply chain reality. Modern civilization runs on chips, and we've concentrated 92% of advanced chip manufacturing in one place, Taiwan. Not because it's strategically smart, but because it's economically efficient. TSMC is the best at what it does. Companies gave them all the work, and nobody built a backup because backup is costly. Now, there's no plan B. Intel is building new factories in Arizona and Ohio with CHIP Act money, billions of dollars in investment. These factories will be operational in 2025, 2026, maybe 2027. They will produce chips 2 generations behind TSMC, and full production will take years. There will be at least a 3 to 5 year shortage. Let me show you the social math. First week, panic, but society functions. First month, stress, but systems remain. Third month, cracks appear. Crime increases. Unemployment rises as companies lay off workers. Sixth month, real tension. Hospitals operate beyond capacity. Food prices cause real challenges. Political instability. The government responds with emergency measures. Price controls. This also creates scarcity. Rationing. This also creates a black market. Emergency powers. This also doesn't fix supply chains. This is the part of the scenario where nobody wants to play war games. It's not military conflict. It's the part where American cities look like a completely different country. And here's the darkest truth. The German Marshall Fund scenario is optimistic. It assumes China will retreat after months of conflict. It assumes U.S. intervention will work. It assumes Taiwan's defenses will hold out long enough. What if they don't? What if China manages to seize Taiwan? Then they control 92% of advanced chip manufacturing. Apparently, this isn't a supply chain crisis. This is a geopolitical restructuring. And your market problem? That's the least of your worries.
Okay, wait. Let's be tactical. You get a notification on your social media account on your phone. The Chinese People's Liberation Army has launched an operation against Taiwan. You don't watch the news in the first hour. You act. Financial? Withdraw cash, as much as your daily limit allows. Small bills, 20s, not hundreds. If you have multiple accounts, go to multiple ATMs. Banks will restrict withdrawals to hours, not days. Fuel. Fill up every vehicle. If you have gas canisters, fill them up. Gas stations will run out or implement limits within 24 hours. Grocery shopping. Go to the grocery store before the panic starts. You want high-calorie, long-lasting foods. Rice, pasta, canned beans, peanut butter. Water, 1 gallon per person per day, at least 30 days. Medications, replenish anything that requires a prescription now. You're not preparing for the apocalypse. You're avoiding the panic-driven shopping frenzy. For the first week, while everyone else is panicking, you're building up buffer stocks. Food, at least 90 days worth of supplies. That seems like a lot. It's not. 50 pounds of rice, 30 pounds of dried beans, 20 pounds of pasta, a few cases of canned vegetables and canned protein, that's about $300 and fits in a cupboard. Water, if you're in the city, water treatment plants need electricity and chemicals. If supply chains break, treatment plants struggle. Have a filtration system. Sawyer mini filters cost $22 and filter about 100,000 gallons of water. Medical, a 90-day supply of prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, first aid supplies. What do you have if you can't get to the pharmacy or hospitals are overflowing? Power, a portable solar generator. You charge phones, run lights, keep a small refrigerator running. In the first month, currency still works, but skills gain value. Are you skilled at repair work, mechanical work, plumbing, electrical work? People will pay more when spare parts are unavailable. Can you grow food? Even a small garden produces meaningful calories. Can you preserve food? Canning, fermenting, drying. Pay attention to what's not on this list. Your job title, your diploma, your social media followers. The skills economy values practical ability. Learn these things now while YouTube still exists. And here's what the preparedness experts always debate: lone wolf or community. Let's clarify this. In long-term crises, being a lone wolf is a death sentence. You can't defend yourself 24/7. You can't use every skill. You can't maintain your sanity and solitude. But communities survive. Start building now, not during the crisis. Who's the nurse 3 doors down? Who's the mechanic across the street? Who's the guy with the generator? Know your neighbors, not your Facebook friends. Real people who live within walking distance. Because when a gallon of gas is $15, your community means everyone you can reach without driving. Will this happen? Of course I don't know. Neither do you. The experts don't know. Maybe China won't act in 2027. Maybe in 2028. Maybe never. Maybe diplomatic solutions will work. Maybe U.S. deterrence will continue. But the German Marshall Fund simulated this 12 times as a war game. U.S. military intelligence set 2027 as the preparation date. The World Economic Forum has ranked geoeconomic conflict as the greatest global risk. These aren't YouTube speculators. These are institutions with billion-dollar budgets and access to classified intelligence. Perhaps they're wrong too. Are you willing to bet your family's safety on it? You insure your house for fire. The probability of your house burning down, 0.3% a year. Insurance costs, thousands of dollars a year. No one calls you paranoid for having homeowners insurance. According to professional analysts, the probability of Taiwan being invaded in the next 3 years, much higher than 0.3%. Preparation cost, a few $100s, a one-time payment, which is a wiser choice.
Here's what I know for sure. If an invasion happens, you have 72 hours before the easy preparation window closes. Markets will be emptied. You have 72 hours before the crisis hits and gas stations dry up. But remember, you won't be preparing in those 72 hours. You'll either be prepared before the crisis or you'll join the stampede during the crisis. A middle ground? No. 12 months until 2027. You have 12 months to do things that require 2 weekends and $500. 90 days worth of food supplies, water purification, cash buffer, fuel reserves, medical supplies. It's not complicated, just boring. The same things preparedness advocates have been saying for decades. The only difference? Now the German Marshall Fund agrees with us. China is counting down to 2027. The U.S. military knows it. Defense companies know it. The people who write these reports know it too. The only question is whether you're paying attention. Because when you get a notification on your phone, you only have one option. Do you prepare when it's easy or when it's too late? Prepare for chaos. Think systematically. And when the first crisis of 2027 hits, don't panic and act irrationally.